Greetings, everybody, and welcome once again to the Zero Dark Tony channel. Welcome, Rumble. Welcome, Twitter. This is RipCast, episode 2. Today, we got some good shit going on, guys. So let me know where you are viewing from. Make sure everybody's coming in loud and clear. Give me that old 5x5. Let me know that you can hear us, but I think we're all right. We're sending out an SOS today. Now, let me bring on my intrepid co-host, of course. Put your hands together for Corndiff.
Tony, good evening. How are
Good
you,
evening.
sir?
How are you? We're just going to get you right in here, give you that round of applause from the live audience, live studio audience that we have today.
Love them all. They're a great bunch.
Are you excited?
How could I not be? Yes.
You got Corndiff's Corner.
Oh, yeah.
Coming up.
Wait. Are you ready?
Coming up in just a little while. I'm stoked. I love a new segment. Today, I was poking around in the universe of creators, and I come across this thing. It says Blind Mike Project. I'm like, what? Blind Mike Project? What is this? And I listen to this gentleman, and I start to laugh, and I start to enjoy, and I'm a big fan. So let's just quit the hubbub, ladies and gentlemen, from the Blind Mike Project, Mr. Blind Mike.
Wow, that's very kind of you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, we're really glad to have you, man.
Well,
I like that you asked me to do this yesterday, and you discovered my YouTube channel today. That's interesting.
That's right. I was throwing some darts at a board with some names that someone had collected. No, I've been watching you for a while, man. I really enjoy it.
Oh, thank you.
And in fact, we are going to, first of all, we would just like to welcome Blind Mike as our first outside guest on the program, the new RipCast. All you have to do is find a cool word. I figured out the formula. Find a cool word, put cast on the end of it, and you're on your way. So here we are.
What an honor. I'm happy to be here.
That's it. So, we have seen a lot of your coverage on a lot of different topics. One of my favorite that I wanted to sort of introduce people to your content today is some of the stuff you have covered with a gentleman by the name of Richard Ojeda. Could you please give us just a little rundown of how you found Mr. Ojeda and why you cover him?
Well, he's one of my favorite people on the planet now. But obviously, I follow along, the Dabbleverse and everything. And I'm on WATP from time to time. And the first few times I was on, or even just as a... What's that?
I just said shout out WATP, Carl.
Of course. Carl runs a great operation. Mm-hmm. I think WATS is better if you want to go check out who are these socials, but whatever.
Right on.
But even just as a listener, I would hear all these clips of John with Richard Ojeda. And obviously John is the ridiculous one in that pairing. But like Ojeda would say shit from time to time that I was like, this guy, there's something there. This guy's a loose cannon. And then the more I started looking at him, like, I was correct. He's a fucking maniac. Like, if you take John out of it, like, him sitting next to John makes him seem like the level-headed one.
Well, just for a little context, for the few people that will watch this that don't know who John is, we are talking about Stuttering John Melendez from the Howard Stern
show.
Show.
Yes, sorry.
From that program, who has been the butt of exponential ridicule and scrutiny over the past couple years,
to say the least. Yeah.
He's brought it on himself.
When did you sort of start covering Richard, and tell me a couple of your favorite things about Richard, because we're going to look at some of your interview. Some of your reaction video.
I think November was. I think we did an entire Richard Ojeda episode. We spent like over an hour just breaking down Ojeda. Back in November, I think, was the first time we talked about him.
Yeah.
And I remember that I was mentioning this to you guys before the show, but one thing we found where I was like, I feel like there's two schools when you make fun of a lot of these lol cows or whatever you want to call them.
Mm-hmm.
There's either like, there's got to be a love there of some kind. Like on some level, I enjoy watching like Brendan Schaub. Like on some level, I am a fan.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Like in some weird way, I'm a fan of his. Or
we all are, Bappa.
Of course. Thanks,
we know Bappa.
Or there's like Chris D'Elia, who I think is a genuine scumbag and like a creep. So it has to be one of those two schools, I think, to be entertaining. Like I think there's some people online that like hate John or hate. Who's a good example is like I think Red Bar is very funny. Mike David.
Yeah, a very polarizing individual, Red Bar.
Yeah, I think he's a very funny guy, but like sometimes it's hard to listen to him because it's like, well, if you hate them this much, why are you paying attention? There has to be some kind of love in this mockery. I feel
something draws them to that.
Yeah. Right. So one thing that drew me to Richard Ojeda is he's the type of guy that when he was a state senator in West Virginia, someone was filming him. I guess Richard would speed through a certain part of town every day. So one guy set up shop to kind of expose this and made a video of Richard Ojeda speeding through town and was basically like, this is what your tax dollars are going to or something. And it's like, who gives a fuck if he's going a little over the speed or whatever. I get it. But Richard saw this video and got so angry that he contacted the guy's employer and got him fired.
Wow.
So that's where I was like, is Richard a scumbag? And like I go back and forth where I'm like, is he a bad guy? I don't know, but I do have love for him.
But also, if someone is going to get fired, I mean, that's just the boss looking for a reason, I think. You know what I mean?
That's probably fair.
Yeah,
making a video of a guy speeding is not a great reason to get fired.
He reported me. Well, let's take a quick look. We're going to share a screen here, and we're going to take a quick look at the episode you did called Brian Johnson and Chad Zumach versus Shuley, Richard Ojeda, and Opie.
Okay.
So we got this right here, and I pulled up, and we're just going to go right through.
What was I saying? Oh, yeah. So Greg, so Richard's always talking about even
okay, let me just set this up a little bit because I find this really enjoyable.
Okay.
Actually, who Mike, why don't you set this up real quick? Who is he about to talk about in the wheelchair? Just so.
Well, I'll actually give you better context than I gave in the episode because I don't follow politics particularly closely.
Mm-hmm.
I knew Greg Abbott was the governor of Texas. Yes. I didn't realize he is in fact in a wheelchair.
Okay, yeah, he actually is.
Yeah, I didn't realize that, which actually makes this clip even better.
Oh, you just thought he was wishing him the wheelchair and he didn't have it.
I thought he was saying, yeah, I wish this motherfucker would lose the ability to walk, which I was like, that's pretty crazy. when he was taking a victory lap because really Greg Abbott is in fact in a wheelchair.
He's doing wheelies.
What made me think of the radio show
here we go.
Is immediately after that he mentions the radio show idea, and right after that he starts talking about like Marge the train wreck Green, as he calls her.
I don't like her either, to be honest.
He says these people are fueled on hate. I hate listening to my show because I want to WATP myself. Like I want to criticize Craig for saying, why are you interjecting that?
You're like, why are you talking there? This guy, when he talks all the time.
This has nothing to do with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Why are you interjecting? Wins them elections is hatred. And then he says shit like this that make me think like, why don't you like that? That's a little weird to me. Based on
anyone that wants to make an Uncle Sam picture with Ojeda, I just happened to by accident stop on a perfect freeze frame. Here you go.
What goes on this show? How has no one made fun of my show yet? All right, break this down. Let's hear this. So he's talking about Greg Abbott, who's what, the
governor
from Texas or governor of Texas?
Yep,
that is that Uncle Sam. Like we want you, right?
I guess so. Yeah.
Governor.
Because of their stupidity, and that's a fact. He was literally looking for an excuse to kill a black person. Found one, and he did it.
Sorry, I should clarify.
Go ahead.
He's not talking about Greg Abbott there. He will in a second.
I like how he said found one.
It'd be great. It'd be great
I found one.
Wildly accusing Greg Abbott. He's like, he killed a black person. And then that's the whole clip. I'm like,
with his own bare hands in his wheelchair. He killed him a black man.
It's not that far off because Richard does shit like that where he makes accusations and then he'll literally say his catchphrase, and that's a fact when it's in no way a fact. There's been no proof of it.
Like just completely sketched from a freaking TV show he saw 30 years ago, an episode. You know, just like
a surefire way to know there's been nothing written about a topic is when Richard says, and that's a fact.
He's like who's the guy that does the financial news that nobody listens to? That they do the opposite. The guy on TV.
Oh, Kramer, Jim Kramer.
Kramer, yeah. He's like the Kramer of politics.
All right, I know.
Found one.
He was literally looking for an excuse to kill a black person. Found one, and he did it. And he deserves to be sentenced to prison for what he's done. And the governor of Texas is literally talking about giving him a free pass. Because the governor of Texas doesn't give two shits about anybody being killed, especially a person of color. Because Greg Abbott is a racist piece of shit who deserves a wheelchair.
Holy shit.
Wow. Holy shit.
Jesus, Richard.
I hadn't heard this yet.
I haven't decided. I can't quite decide which is crazier. If he just wished a wheelchair on a person, just to come at him with a.
Is it? I know which, and that's the part that was funny. There is like, which is worse, right?
Yeah.
Is he wishing it? That's
fucking
awesome.
Baseball bat.
You deserve.
Oh my god!
You like your knees, Greg Abbott?
Jesus Christ,
Mr. Abbott.
He deserves a wheelchair.
He's gonna get syndicated, and people are gonna immediately cancel him.
Can you imagine this? Like,
Hold on, let me just pull forward a little bit here. I want to get to the. Okay, here we go. Because just listening to him. Sorry, I had these queued up a little better earlier.
He doesn't read the chats anymore.
That's another thing that's really hindered the program is he doesn't read the chats. Yeah, he does read roll call twice in his show now.
I can hear his blinks on this video.
All right, go back just a little bit because he has more wishes for Greg Abbott.
And the governor of Texas is literally talking about giving him a free pass. Because the governor of Texas doesn't give two shits about anybody being killed, especially a person of color. Because Greg Abbott is a racist piece of shit.
This is his factual, right? This is when he's starting to spit Ojeda facts.
Yeah.
Right?
He gets riled up. He's kind of like a pastor or something. Like
he's very energetic. Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of misguided energy going on here that I think he could he could put up a barn like in the movie Witness.
He could channel this into something very positive. But
you know, when I first saw him, I actually saw him on a show. You know what? I saw Shuli and the Uncle Rico guys doing a review of, a reaction to one of his videos, and he had this box of medications, like a.
I think I know what you're talking about. I may have seen the same thing. Yeah,
like a tote. So if anybody's wondering why you can hear him blinking, it might have something to do with that.
Zooted up.
Who deserves a wheelchair? That he doesn't work from the damn waist down. I hope he can't get it out.
Hold on. Oh, he's getting into a passionate speech. This is like Martin Luther King-esque as far as passion goes. Oh, I said this already. I didn't realize.
Hope he can't get it up.
We see here now that he has completely wished absolute destruction from the waist down. But just so you can sort of see what's going on here on the Blind Mike Project, it's really good shit. So let's and I'm gonna link that in the descriptions too, so people can go see that. There's other stuff on there about Chad and just some of the stuff that's covered in another universe, because there are several. And
I try not to do the Chad stuff and the Shuli stuff and all of that because I think Carl does a very good job with it. But there's times where I'm just so fascinated by it. And I'm like, I can't avoid it. I have to talk about it.
It is a study in human psychology, man. I will tell you that right now. It is the craziest stuff. And what to me in any YouTube universe or chat room or anything is, I want to ask you, how do you feel about seeing, because some of these programs really seem to just let the chat run the show, and as a creator, how do you feel about that? Because some people can be aggressive, some people get in there and they feel like they're part of the show, they're directing it, they want to be in control of it. What are your thoughts on listening to the chat?
Oh, you should never don't listen to the chat, for God's sake. That'll drive you insane. But like, there's a lot of funny people. Like, we'll have funny people pop into our chat, and I think Craig at first would be like so excited that anyone was listening that he would pop in and read them like constantly. Sure. And I think he's gotten better at that. So now, like, if someone pipes in with a funny line, like when the timing is right, I think it's good. I think Carl does very good at that because we accept like super chats on WATS.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I have dropped the one or two on there. I like that show a lot.
Thank you, sir. Mm-hmm. But I think Carl's figured out a good rhythm of like, sometimes he'll read them because they relate to the topic we're talking about, or sometimes it just breaks up a segment or whatever. But I don't understand the new model that seems to be taking over. I mean, MLC is probably the best example, but I've heard, I don't listen to Steel Toe a lot, but I've heard that's maybe the case there as well. I don't really know.
Yeah, when you see this sort of, it's become like, the slap fights. It's like that, but with podcasts. The people that get up there, it's just like, who could take the shot?
Yeah,
they're going to stand up there and volunteer for it, and
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of shows that do a lot better in super chats than any of the shows that I'm on, but I don't think it's a sustainable way to just make. I don't think it's like, oh, I can go live and people will send me money while I'm live, and that's how I'll earn a living that way. I don't think that's sustainable, really. But
they're also doing the insult. You're paying to insult somebody, which in itself is, I mean, paying. I like to, drop in and just try and go off a joke or something like that with a super chat, but some people will come in there and just sort of really, I think it's almost like that financial domination. They want that feeling of being dominated or something. It's just a strange, there's a fetishizing somewhere there. I'm not sure where it is.
Well, I thought Brian Johnson had a great line about the stuff on Shuli's network. And again, I have no issue with Shuli or anything, but I thought it was hilarious when Brian Johnson just goes, "These aren't shows." I thought that was such a simple, great description of it where, like, yeah, I guess like Shuli looks down at Carl for doing show prep or something. But the reason I was drawn to that show is because he's integrated parts of like, old-timey kind of radio, or not even old-timey, but 20 years ago type of radio. But also adapted it to podcasting and made it more modern. And like with me, I think it is important to have a lot of clips prepared that I know I want to make fun of, rather than just be like, hey, let's play Chris D'Elia's podcast from the beginning and make fun of it. Like, there is a difference.
Carl seems to be the one out of all these cats who has sort of like that being in the business of the actual internet background of understanding media marketing, if I'm not mistaken.
Is he in marketing? He never mentions that. I have not heard that.
I think he said it maybe like 200 or 300 times in an episode.
Right. Well-kept secret.
but I'm not going to tell anybody. But I think that's some of the difference with some of these podcasts that go out there. Some people actually have some skills that they could work off of. Some are a little better at the editing. Some are a little better at just getting on and talking and keeping the air from going dead, right?
Yeah.
But with these different skills, I see Carl as one of the more prepared chefs in these restaurants. He has a lot of skills.
Yeah, no, he's great with that stuff, and
they have nothing to do with being on camera, because I don't think he's the best one on camera. I think it's his off-camera skills that really make him stronger.
Oh, really? I mean, I agree with part of that, but I think he's very funny.
Or not.
Well, I'm saying I think he's very funny on air, but I think part of it is I do agree with what you're saying, where it's like there is a producer mentality that he has that I think is very good.
Yeah, it makes him super strong with what he's putting out there, and obviously understanding the nature of all the backline and the back end work that we do as creators. Your thumbnails, your descriptions, trying to get those put out there to make the most sense to hit the crowd that you want to be hit in the algorithm, you know?
Yeah, I've started to get better. My guy Hack Ride, that's been doing a lot of work at building the YouTube channel. Like, we finally started getting better at that, because for a while I was like, nah, man, like, I'll be cool and not give a fuck about any of that.
Right.
And then I would see my channel not grow at all and be like, okay, well, maybe I should start giving a fuck, I guess.
Yeah, I have recently definitely hit a wall. I'm right before 5K subs on my channel, and I really haven't tried that hard.
Right.
And I just was lucky. I was on, you know, a thing, and I got monetized within a few months of starting my channel. It was pretty, you know, I was fortunate in that way. But now, just hitting this wall, I have to incorporate understanding some of these things if I do want it to move and grow. But not right now, because Corn Diff got us a strike. So
it happened.
Well, it's tough. Again, kind of the same mentality where I didn't want to adapt to like the social media stuff. With YouTube, I've struggled with this because I'm like, you know, the rules that they're coming up with, where like you can't curse in the first 5 minutes, and you know, there's certain trigger words or topics or things you can't say if you want to be monetized.
right.
It started to get so crazy, and I was like, well, I don't give a fuck. I'll if it comes up naturally, I'll curse whenever I want. But then I'm like, I'm also not the guy. You know, my channel's not particularly big. I'm not going to be the one guy where YouTube's like, all right, well, now, you know what, Mike, you've proven it to us.
We have to reevaluate our stance on this.
We're going to have to give you this laurel and hearty handshake.
Yeah, you've shown us the error of our ways. But I do think, like, if other shows, like, I don't like, I'm a fan of, you know, Legion of Skanks and shit like that. And when I see them editing their podcast to cut out curse words and shit in the first 5 minutes to fit YouTube's algorithm, I'm like, well, shows that are that big, or Are You Garbage, or any Tim Dillon, whoever.
Yeah, and when you go there and they have thousands of people watching them live.
Yes, shows that are that big, I don't think they realize like YouTube needs them. That's the way, the direction YouTube is going, is being a home for all these like podcasts and shit. So if YouTube just says fuck off to all of these shows, then they'll go to Rumble or they'll go somewhere else. Like, I don't think creators realize the power that they have if they have a big enough channel now.
Right. I mean, you know, there are some creators that could just go anywhere, you know, and they'll still bring their audience with them, like a Crowder.
Exactly,
Or
I mean, I think Crowder's a
Russell Brand or something.
Yeah, it seems like a complete douchebag, and I made fun of him a lot a couple weeks ago. But
awesome.
But yeah, he has a very loyal audience and could just go to Rumble and they'll still get 180,000 live viewers or something.
And he still doesn't have 2 cars. Anyway,
it's weird.
Moving, it's so fucking weird. So, you know, there's the Danny Masterson trial going on, the Scientology thing. And what a lot of people don't realize, another Scientologist that is in our midst here on YouTube is Grant Cardone. And a lot of people don't realize it. Did you guys know when you woke up this morning that Grant Cardone is a Scientologist?
I had no
idea. I did. I'm sorry to say I didn't. I'm embarrassed.
Right. Well, he is a very powerful high-end Scientologist, a big recruiter, and he is under investigation and in trouble. But where this all started is when he went on with another criminal, Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street. You know him as the Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
But what he did was he brought Grant Cardone in, and, you know, anything that has to do with showing the cracks in Scientology, I am totally down for doing that, because fuck those guys. Fuck Tom Cruise, fuck John Travolta and his gay ass, because I want nothing to do with it, okay? Those people are evil. And look, I miss old school gay people. And I think John is one of those cool old school gay people. He's just not my type. So
what defines old school gay?
Yeah,
well, you know, I will tell you, because that is an excellent question. It is just the same as like the Gen Xers or the people that used to have the culture where you could lay low, right? Where nobody really bothered you, where nobody really gave a shit, and nobody got in fights in the streets or in bathrooms about.
I don't know if life for gay people 30 years ago was all that great, but
well, here's the thing: is I grew up in Philadelphia, and I was around. You know, those were some of the first bars that I went into underage. Yes, I know it sounds weird that I went into gay bars underage. Not a gay man. I don't think there's anything wrong with being a gay man, but the thing about Philadelphia is that it had this huge gay culture, and Nobody really cared because you know what? Because they weren't bringing the shit into schools. And that to me is the old school gay people. There, a lot of the old school, just like hardcore gays that I know want nothing to do with this modern movement of the, LMNOP freaking shit.
Gotcha.
They just want nothing to do with it.
All right.
Like it's
So, Gen X gays.
Okay.
makes sense.
All right, let's check out how Jordan Belfort.
They just scared the shit out of me.
How about in terms of like the phone, use the phone versus door knocking? Which do you like better?
Phone's definitely senior.
Phone's the better one.
Phone's senior because I can talk to more people. Like I used to market my own seminars, right? I would market the seminar for 3 days.
Okay, so this is Grant Cardone here. He is under federal investigation right now, along with what people don't realize. He also has a twin brother named Gary.
And that sounds made. I don't know why the name Gary sounds like a made-up twin.
Gary Cardone, yeah,
Gary Cardone.
Gary Cardone. That's his twin brother, and they're both under investigation. What they had was this scheme going is that Grant Cardone would sign people up on credit cards, and his brother and him started a business that would make sure that people couldn't get their refunds on the credit cards, essentially. Okay. They stopped the refunds from happening. So that's how they're under federal investigation. Guy's a crook.
Right.
He's going to go to jail. He's going to jail.
And then I would show up.
And then you'll hear how Belfort just
another group was
him.
just marketing the city. I would do a city in 14 days. We were doing seminars in 14 days. They were spending anywhere from 8 weeks to 10 weeks to market the same seminar, which raised their cost. I'm in and out in 14 days because I made 3 days of phone calls that were brutal. Hey, I'm coming to San Antonio, man. Will you give me 5 minutes? This is before anybody knew who I was, right? No books.
Keep in mind, he will have. He's also one of these guys.
Like, no, don't come by.
$20,000.
To me, that's
that you're going to get some returns.
No, I'm not interested.
And you start
not interested.
On your credit card, and then when you go, hey, I'm not seeing my money.
It says not
my money back. That's where Gary comes in, right?
Not is an adjective to describe interest.
Okay.
Right. So it's a level of interest.
So if someone says they're not interested,
on a scale from 0 to 10, what interest level do you have? None. That is a level, right? Okay, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You with me? A few minutes ago, he didn't know he didn't know he had no interest. At least I'm on. You see what I'm saying? You get it?
Well, I wouldn't do that. I disagree with that. But I'm not saying that. Reasonable minds could differ. I would.
Yeah.
I'm more about hitting.
One is a convicted felon, and one is going to be.
I know I'm not focusing on the right things in this video, but I wish Leo tried to capture this guy's voice in Wolf of Wall Street. I feel like he didn't do the voice justice.
He really dropped the ball on that one. Hey, You know what? That's why he went home empty-handed.
That's true. Yeah, still a great movie, but
go home empty-handed.
Hitting massive numbers, I would move on to the next guy.
Well,
the problem I see is with salespeople, a lot of people, they have a fear of cold calling.
Yeah.
So they'll use as an excuse to not cold call, to talk to someone for too long. They know he's not going to buy. They get into casual conversations. They go to fucking Pluto.
Yeah,
and they don't pick up next call. So that's what bothers me about doing that.
Yeah, well, then
does Jordan Belfort just do a podcast?
They shouldn't be having casual conversations.
Yeah, Jordan Belfort also, you'll notice that he has a lot of the big time, guru grifter types, Gary V, all these people that run through and there are people that they have a lot of receipts on a lot of these what are turning out to be scams, and Grant Cardone is a master of it, and he does so much for Scientology that again they have billions of dollars. I mean, they're probably running out of money, but they have something called their Fair Game Bureau, and that's kind of like their own CIA. So that's those are their.
Are they getting? How is Scientology getting new people? Because it's become such a joke now. Like, I feel like everyone knows. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the word is out on Scientology. So how are they recruiting people?
Well, it used to be a lot easier for Tom Cruise, and we were talking backstage before the show, and I was mentioning how Tom Cruise just recently, and I'm gonna run a video on this, is that Tom Cruise actually was told by David Miscavige to go make sure that more people get recruited. Now, back in the 90s, when I went into Scientology, it was very flashy. It was very, it was very hip, and nobody really knew what was going on. It kind of sort of like broke down over the past 20 years, right? But now it's still Hollywood is that there's the allure from Hollywood, but now Tom Cruise has to say to his minions, and Jenna Elfman was my handler. She brought me into Scientology. Okay. The celebrity's job is to bring other celebrities into Scientology or other artists. Right. So when you have someone like Tom Cruise going to literally brought all the celebrities in Scientology to a place called the Museum of Death on Sunset. That's a Scientology front business. You know, it's basically a money laundering company. And it tells how psychiatry destroyed the world. Essentially, that's their play there with the Museum of Death. Tom Cruise brings them there and says, "Listen, if you motherfuckers," he went in there like Les Grossman from fucking Trump. Okay, he went in there and said, "You motherfuckers better get out there and bring some more fucking people in here." And what he said was, and this is what's been reported by Leah Remini and Growing Up Scientology and Mike Rinder, who these are all whistleblowers of Scientology. And they said that he said to them, and Leah Remini said, "This motherfucker said what to me?" You know, so they have had to go in and hardline and hardball their celebrities to try and get them out there and recruit.
Right. Interesting.
So that's how they do it, is just trying to get the celebrities to say, "Hey, this is the greatest thing ever. Look at
be talking about the weather, sports, and
right." But you know, in the absence of 24/7 supervision, that's what salespeople do. They do.
Well, there should be 24 hours. There should be 24/7 supervision. They should be. The phone calls should be recorded. The manager should know exactly what they opened with.
But in the real world, though, that's not.
In my real world, it's possible.
I know, but
in your real world, maybe it's not. But in your real world, everybody's using drugs. So in my real world, fucking nobody's using drugs, and you're going to set the intention. Hey, I'm calling because I want to get you on this program. That's the reason I'm calling you.
Okay, so let me understand.
Yeah, hang on a second.
No one's having ineffective conversations in your ever. Or any company you train.
Everybody closes under Grant's supervision. What do you think of that?
It's impressive.
I like Jordan Belfort's going after. I wouldn't expect this to be such a hard-hitting interview.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, this is the part where he really kind of calls Grant out, and this is the unexpected part, is that a lot of people haven't seen this. Because Jordan really goes after him here, because he's like, "What the fuck are you talking about? You're ripping people off, right?"
Yeah.
No, I didn't say that. I said in my real world, where.
No, not in my real world. In my real world, look at his GC logo on his.
We work where in Miami. When those guys are on the phone, every one of those calls are recorded.
Right. And everyone's listened to by QC people, every single one.
Management, and they're intervened if they're incorrect.
What? Every call that you have going out is monitored?
They train every morning. They train every night.
Wow. Okay.
They're recorded in their trainings, and they're corrected. And if once they correct, their numbers, their statistics will go up.
Mm-hmm.
Look, if the program works, the stats should go up.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Like, just because you're getting training education, and if it's not moving the graph, like what kind of training is that?
Okay.
So we measure everything by a graph. The graph's either going up or it's going down. If it's going down over and over, then you get to go away.
Okay. So you think that at any given moment in the average sales force out there, salespeople are just always doing the right, even if they train.
I can't talk about the average sales force because I'm thinking about mine. So mine needs to become the model.
I hate these guys. This is very Gary V. I feel like.
What the superiority?
Yes, where it's like, well, I can't speak to anyone else is the biggest out. It's like, okay, well then, what are we doing? Why would we have this conversation then?
Right.
If you can't speak in any sort of generalities, then what the fuck are we going to accomplish?
This is my golden magic carpet.
If everything is like, well, why is this happening then? Well, I can't speak to that because it doesn't involve me. It's like, oh, well, all right.
It's got nothing to do with my sales team. That's your shitty sales team.
A guy's selling on the phone, like the calls you're talking about, that will make more money.
And if you're noticing, he's such a fucking scumbag that he is actively right now trying to pull business from Belfort.
Oh, interesting.
Really?
You know what I mean? Just by what he's doing right now, he's literally trying to go, oh, well, that's your sales team. Mine's way better. So, fuck your methods.
Than a guy at Goldman Sachs.
Okay.
Selling a $20,000 product.
Right. But listen, in all due respect, buddy, I've trained millions of salespeople.
Millions.
And I have. And I just know, and I've trained all types. And I know that.
How'd you train them, though?
What?
How'd you train them?
Doesn't matter. The
From
points
stage? Yeah, it matters. It matters.
No, it doesn't
Don't
matter.
worry about it.
Don't you worry about. Listen. I can't tell you that part because that's the part that's going to cost. Are you a registered investor? Are you qualified?
Sell me this pen.
Sell me this pen. The famous "sell me this pen." Oh, that's great.
Well, and no, I'm trained in my own business and from stage as a consultant. The point is that my opinion is human beings are human beings, and people, the average salesperson, that if you leave them to their own devices, they will tend to stay too long on a call because they don't want to pick up the phone and dial.
They won't make a call. Exactly.
No, if you get them to make calls, but they'll still stay too long.
Yeah.
So you want to rein them in.
Yeah, but then you would look at somebody's not managing that guy.
And what we do over at my sales team is we have these chairs that are pre-rigged with an electric device for people when they're on their calls. We also electrify the phones and the buttons and the headsets.
The ejector seats.
the ejector seats. You ever see James Bond?
Because you would look at number of calls, not just calls. Like talk time that equates to nothing.
Yeah,
means somebody doesn't know what they're doing. Right. So it's not. You don't leave human beings up to their own devices.
Well, the thing is,
you don't leave them. Like if you
when you have a commission structure, right? You want to obviously create an incentive plan that
leave these dummies on their own.
You want to disincentivize people, right? So you want to motivate people with certain things. You want to set them up to succeed, right?
I want to make sure they're successful.
Right. You want to set them on and give them the best chance of success, right? So my point is that when I have someone on the phone, well, I train.
Obviously, our main goal is for the success of others, right?
What we're going to do here is we're going to ensure success through our program. Let me pump up the speed a little bit here.
Is that if my belief is that people have a tendency, I think you agree with this, that in the absence of intervention, they'll talk too long to someone who's not going to buy. That's my belief. Do you agree with that or disagree with that?
I agree that they would, yes.
Okay, good. So then my point is that, so I try to instill procedures to stop them, to know when do you know, like, because some people, they're just not natural salespeople. I am.
No, nobody's a natural salesperson.
Well, I was a natural salesperson. I was.
Jesus Christ. This is like every little semantic argument Cardone is going to come back.
Yeah.
You're like, no, that's wrong. That's not my way.
I like the bumping of ego. Well, I was. I was a great salesman.
I mean,
I just seen the film, sir.
When I was born, I was selling those doctors' gloves.
I ran to many over the years. They're naturals, right? Many aren't.
How many have you run into?
Countless
Can't
people,
count 'em.
countless natural salesmen. And also, there's a whole barometer in between, right? The point is that when I always say, even with naturals, even myself, that if without conscious forethought, you'll tend to extend the call longer than you should because you don't want to pick up that phone. And it's like human nature on some level, psychology.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think people want to avoid, that's why I said earlier, it is the number, it's volume.
What do you
It's
you made fun of NLP, right? Neurolinguistic pro. I heard someone say, I
don't think much of any gimmicks like
NLP gimmick.
Yeah, totally. I've never had an NLP salesman work.
Neurolinguistic program.
I don't know.
They've never been.
I don't know what an NLP salesman look like. It's not.
I don't either. I know guys that are like, hey, I'm doing NLP. Good. They never work. They never.
Have you
Scientology saying I'm not into gimmicks.
I know. This is a guy who sat there in a course in Scientology, and the course, by the way, is called Student Hat. Okay, the course that I mentioned to you guys backstage, where you stare at the piece of paper upside down. That's it. You sit in the chair, and I'm talking like 3 fucking hours. Okay, 4 hours, 5 hours, however long they say. You are staring at a piece of paper taped to the wall upside down. Grant Cardone, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't believe in gimmicks. I do believe a fiction writer that was alive in the 60s is God, but
I don't believe in gimmicks, but have you ever heard of Xenu?
Not much for gimmicks.
He is an intergalactic overlord. Now, hear me out.
Yeah, all fact.
They're never productive. So we got, I think we got 80 salespeople on the phone today. So I got guys keeping stats on people. We're like, hey guys, look, there's no fucking tricks here. The trick is the call. The trick is a good contact. The trick is that they're qualified to buy from us. Then you got to make a contact.
Qualified to buy. They can afford the product. They need the product. They want it. Define qualified.
Yeah. We're talking to a decision maker
who has the money,
has the money and the interest,
okay,
and the need.
Okay.
And
so they come pre-qualified to the sales
no,
force?
not necessarily. But I'm just saying, if you're not talking to qualified people, it doesn't matter. Right?
So
I could be talking to Grant Cardone, the decision maker, who is qualified, who has money. Fuck, I ain't making that decision. That's not my decision.
In an average company, right? So you get salespeople, they speak to.
I would quit talking about average companies if I were you. I don't know why you keep
train
going back to average. Who wants to be average? Why are you guys studying average people?
Dude, I'm talking about because if you're training, if you're a sales, I'm talking as a sales trainer, not as your own company. You're going into companies as an average out there, buddy.
The problem, though.
Again, that's another thing people like this moment do. I don't know too much about Grant Cardone, but I got a feel for him already.
Right.
And like, obviously, again, Jordan Belfort speaking in generalities. He's like, the average company, not meaning you want to be. Everyone knows what he means when he says that. He's, generally speaking, here's how it is. He gets so hung up on that. Well, why would you want to be average? It's like, all right, asshole. You know what the fuck I'm saying.
You stop it.
We're human. We have the commonality of language here. Let's, relate to one another.
This is where.
How do you explain that?
You don't explain. You tell people what you want to do. You tell them, hey, I want you to buy my product. Okay, here's my product. This is what my product does. This is what my product costs. That should come early, by the way. This is what my product costs. Okay, does it fit your needs? Okay, if everything I'm saying is true, does this interest you? If
no, well, that's a level of interest. See,
sold.
What you don't realize is they're just coming in on the low end of the scale of interest. You have to develop their interest to bring it up.
Jesus.
And let me show you a quick image here of just real quick so you could see Gary. I know he's. I'm just gonna pop up some images right here of him. There's Gary. Gary is not on the TRT package that Grant is.
No.
if you guys can't tell.
No, there's something's different there.
Right? But that is his twin brother. That is the one who has that chargeback company.
Okay.
We're just gonna finish cracking this out here.
If not today, when? Like, that's what I'm saying. There's no truth.
His veins.
You just need to tell people, just be honest with people, man. I got a cup of coffee. They're expensive. It's stupid, but we provide it for you, right? It's $4. You could do this at home. Do you want it or not? No? Okay, get next. And then I need to get a funnel of people in. I tried the other way. I tried the special words. I tried that thing, looking for that holy grail. And all I'm saying is consistently is like my business didn't start growing until I was like, I need to fix the top of the funnel.
The marketing side. I get it. I understand that.
So if I'm trying to buy a piece of real estate, like that guy was
I just, I think you're a killer marketer, by the way. I really do.
Thank you.
I know. Let me take my fucking hats off to you.
Yeah.
I think you're an unbelievable marketer. I really do. The way you've built your business on Facebook, I really do. Tell me about the real estate side of the equation now.
Well, so
is that really where do you see yourself in the future? Is really the growth towards real estate?
Well, I'll never have a $10 billion sales training company. I will have a $10 billion real estate company. I mean, it's just.
So what's
you just can't get there with training.
So
what people don't want to be educated, Jordan. You know that people don't want to pay. They don't want to do the work for the abs. They just want the abs. They'll eat the diet pill, but they won't do the diet.
They'll eat the diet pill, but they won't do the diet. So that is the Wolf of Wall Street calling out Grant Cardone. So we're going to jump into the next segment here. This is a new segment, Mike. So the new segment here is called Corn Diff's Corner.
Wow.
And what's going to happen is I'm going to step out of frame, and Corn Diff just has a couple questions for you.
Right? Okay. I'm in the hot seat.
And he's going to put you in the Corn Diff hot seat.
Okay.
And this is something that we're going to be able to clip later, and be able to get people to get to know you better as well.
All right. Cool.
So I'll be back, and everybody, what we have here, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Corn Diff's Corner with Blind Mike.
Welcome to Corn Diff's Corner.
That's right. You are in good hands, sir. I will be back momentarily.
All right. See you soon. Mike, how are you?
Good. My ears are open, Corn Diff.
Oh, man. Well, I'm glad to have you here tonight.
We're having fun.
We are. Who's that in the picture behind you, by the way?
We've got Jack Klugman. There's also a Freddie Mercury, and you can't see it, ironically, but we've got a Ray Charles back here as well.
Oh, I was thinking that was a tiny Freddie Mercury. That was about the only one I was recognizing. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
All my heroes.
I like that.
Yeah.
Forgive me, Blind Mike. I haven't kept up with your background as much as I should have. I've seen you on Who Are These? Or is it Who Are These Socials? Or What Are These Socials?
It's Who Are These Socials?
Who Are These Socials? Yeah. All right.
It's called Why Do I Podcast, actually, I think is the name of it.
Why Do I Podcast? That's it.
Yeah.
No. I've seen you there with Carl. And I like what I see. You're good on there, but can you tell me a little bit about your background and how you got here to where you're at right now?
Well, I was an intern for Barstool Sports in 2015. I had a horrible interview that you can find online, and then in the last second, I just threw a Hail Mary and was like, "Hey, I'm blind, and you can make fun of me if you want."
He loved it, didn't he?
Dave Portnoy was like, "All right, sounds good." So I was an intern there, and then through that opportunity, I made contact with Kirk Minahan, who a few years later went to Barstool Sports when he left radio, and he brought me in and gave me an amazing opportunity. And that's kind of where, like any audience that I have, is because of Kirk, pretty much. So that was a huge thing for me. And then as far as like who are these socials go, basically I was just a fan of WATP, and I reached out to Carl to have him on my podcast. And then I told him, like, hey, if you ever need anyone, if you're ever looking for a co-host on WATP a random week, let me know. And then he reached out to me. This is a couple years ago at this point, I think. And I've been on here and there, and every time I go on, we have a great time. And I thought he and I had pretty good chemistry together, so I reached out to him and was like, hey, if you ever are thinking of doing another show, like, I know he does a ton of shit already. But let's work on something. And we had a different idea. Originally, my idea was basically like a parody of a morning zoo radio show.
Okay.
And I think the goal for that would have been going every day. And then I think we kind of realized with like all the other shit that both of us do, that would have been probably too much work to take on right now.
Right.
But one of the things we talked about in that, like, I think it originated as like a segment idea for that show or something, was essentially like a spin-off. Actually, you know what it was is Carl talked about wanting to have more things under the brand of like, who are these, whatever.
Okay.
I remember him saying like he wishes he called the creep off, who are these creeps, just for like branding purposes.
Yeah, I could see that.
And so I just had or I forget which one of us mentioned social media, because it's easy enough, just like there's 3 million podcasts or whatever there are, it's easy enough to find people to follow on social media that aren't getting enough shit, just because, like, in my opinion, the amount of stuff people are willing to put on the internet for clicks and likes and views has gotten ridiculous, and it deserves mocking. And
it's crazy.
Pretty much it.
So, well, yeah, you and Carl definitely play well off of each other. So I think it's a good thing for everyone that y'all got together on that.
Thank you.
Barstool Sports internship. How long were you there for?
I was an intern for a little over a year before they moved to New York. I was an intern when they just had a 800 square foot office in Milton, Massachusetts. Okay. And I wasn't going to get a full-time job there when they moved to New York. So I went into like just a shitty promotions job in radio here in Boston. And then Kirk, there's a whole, I could do another hour-long podcast talking about how Kirk Minahan got fucked over in radio by an activist named Bob Murchison. And that led to him leaving to go to Barstool Sports. And I just annoyed the shit out of him every chance I could to be like, hey, if you ever need me in, I could do social media stuff, whatever you need. And then he had me in one day. I guess I did okay. And he brought me back, and then that became a full-time thing. And then I left. I started to get very sensitive, and I had a whole, not to get too dark, but like I was suicidal and all this kind of shit at a certain point, and I wanted to take a break, and I took a mental health leave. And at the end of that, I decided to leave Barstool as a full-time employee and just start my own thing. That's when I started my Patreon a little over 2 years ago. But I'm still on the Kirk Minahan show. Originally, when I came back, it was once a week, and now it's twice a week at this point.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So while you were an intern there, was it similar to when I think of interns, and I'm an O&A guy, so I think of O&A interns and the stuff that they had to do over the years. Was it kind of a whack pack type of thing, or was it just normal internship?
That's a good way to say it. And you know what? Here's where I fucked up with my internship. Is at Barstool, particularly then, I don't know exactly what it's like in the office now, but particularly then, you could have done whatever the fuck you wanted. And I wanted to do a podcast, but I don't know if it was that I was scared or I thought I should have been doing other things. What I should have done is been like, hey, can I just do a podcast? Because at that time, Portnoy didn't really understand where podcasting was going. So I think I just would have had a Barstool Sports podcast in 2015. And I didn't do that. I also don't know that I had an idea. Like, if I had the idea for Why You Laughing, which is a podcast I do now, if I had that idea then, that would have been something great that I wish I had done there. But I think my biggest regret is that I was too lazy with that stuff. I kind of coasted. But yeah, to answer your question, I took a roundabout way there. But to answer your question, yeah, it was sort of like a whack pack type of thing. I guess, like, if you're comparing it to Opie and Anthony, the best comparison would be like Intern David or something.
Oh no,
where it's like
terribly boring.
Well, no, that's not what I mean. I'm sure I was, but but something where it's like, well, he's around for sport. He's like a punching bag sort of a thing.
Got it.
Not necessarily, I'm not doing producing behind the scenes or anything.
Got it.
Yeah.
Do you have what was your favorite gig over all the years?
I mean, I haven't had many, but the Kirk Minahan show for sure. That is a show that I think, like, as a broadcaster, I think Kirk is more talented and interesting than Howard Stern. Because I mean, I think there's a lot of phoniness to what Stern. Obviously, he's proven that. But he's a guy that doesn't give a fuck about promotion or anything like that. Which is why his show isn't necessarily as big as Stern's, but it's the type of show that I always wanted to be on. Like you mentioned, you were an O&A guy, so was I. And I feel like it's the only show really that has that kind of same vibe. I feel like Howard Stern might be a better comparison because there's definitely some similarities. But I almost think Kirk is better at doing what Howard Stern than Stern himself was.
Okay, you like that one. Who's your biggest influence in professional world?
You mean like that I know, like someone that's influenced my life, or just like my sense of humor or something like that?
Yeah, I guess sense of humor.
I mean, Jim Norton, probably. I've probably listened to Jim Norton talk more than any other human being. Oh, well, you know what? Larry David would be my biggest influence, probably. Like, I talk in Seinfeldisms nonstop. Seinfeld and Curb are my two favorite shows. So probably Larry David.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, big Seinfeld fan myself. Are there any other comedians or entertainers that have inspired your style of humor?
I don't know about inspired my humor because I'm nowhere near as funny as anyone I'm about to mention, but like Norm and Louis and Bill Burr, I definitely listened to a lot growing up. Yeah. Like the first comedy album I ever owned and played over and over again was Brian Regan. Again, I'm nothing like any of these people. That's just what I grew up listening to and what got me into comedy. But again, like Opie and Anthony is probably the biggest direct influence that you can hear by listening to me. Like I'm essentially trying to copy that show whenever I do a podcast in some form or fashion.
I get that. Yeah. Yeah, they're a big influence on me also. What are your thoughts on the current podcast wars going on, like Casey and Melton and Chad and MLC and the strikes, and it's just it seems pretty intense right now.
Yeah, I mean, I struggle with not like. I try to kind of carve out my own thing and have shit that I'm doing that hopefully not everyone else is talking about. But I do get sucked into like, I talked about Shuli and Carl the other day, and I thought Ray DeVito had some ridiculous story that I think was made up. And like, I'm interested in that stuff. So it's hard because like, you look at someone like Shuli and everyone's like, oh, he's ripping off Carl. He's ripping off Carl. But then my thing would be like, well, if he enjoys talking about Stuttering John, then he should. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Carl doesn't necessarily have a patent. And he said this before. He doesn't have a patent on talking about Stuttering John or talking about Chad Zumach or Opie or whoever.
No. Yeah. No one does.
So I do find a lot of these shows fascinating and worth talking about. But it has gotten to a point where, like I mentioned about Ray DeVito, and I think this is true with some of the stuff that like Kevin Brennan is doing. Now, obviously, Zumach with the whole this is Kumia country thing. Some of these guys now are like, oh, well, I need to create drama. I just need to make something up for drama. And I think that's if that's the direction it's going, I think that's a bad thing.
Bad play. Yeah. I'm not a fan of it going that far. It seems like we're in a weird state. Everyone's giving out phone numbers and
that shit I hate. I can't stand any of that.
Yeah.
If you bring up family members or any personal details, or like I see you might have more insight into this, but I've seen, isn't Zumach like threatening Cardiff Electric or something?
I think there's something with that. I haven't been following it too closely.
I guess like Chad's saying that he has all his personal information, and it's even like Chad's trying to play like, well, I'm not releasing it. I'm just saying that okay, so you're threatening the guy essentially. You know what I mean? Like that shit is weird. That's where it gets to a place where it's like, well, what are we even doing?
Yeah.
What is this?
It's pretty bad state that we're in. I have one final question, and you may actually not even have an answer for. What's the riskiest thing you've ever smuggled through TSA?
Oh man, I don't have an answer. I'm always terrified with that stuff. I guess Adderall, maybe, that I wasn't prescribed.
No, that counts. That's great.
Does that count? All right.
I think that counts. Yeah, I had some edibles that I forgot about when I was coming back from a flight in Denver, and I made it through. But yeah, that's
see, I always want to do that because like I've gone to Skankfest every year, and I'll be going to one in Vegas this year. And like, I'd like to bring edibles or something like that, but I'm like, what if it's the one time?
Yeah, it's
it's
I still feel like it's never worth the risk, but
right.
I just wanted. I guess I just did it for the story, but now really it was I forgot about that I had them. But
yeah.
All right, well that I think that's it for Corndiff's Corner. So thank you, Blind Mike.
I'm glad I withstood that. That was a tough grilling.
You did well.
Really put you through it there. Put you through your cases.
Yes.
Right.
But what's great is to be able to just reach out and to, I've enjoyed watching you for a while, Mike, and no homo, big fan. And I'm glad you be out. We're gonna cover one more thing here, I think.
Okay.
We had talked about. And so the other day the main theme was serial. We were going for serial killers, right? But we had some other things here. Now, we want you to stay out of trouble. And we couldn't find any serial killers that were blind, but we did find a list here on Ranker of list of notable blind criminals that defy logic.
Okay.
And we want to keep you out of trouble. All right.
I'm intrigued by this because I always think of I was actually just talking to my girlfriend about this because we were watching some crime documentary. And I was like, I would be such a sloppy criminal. There's no chance I would get away with anything.
Well, here's the question that I have. Okay, so we go to this guy. He's number 4, and he's reasonably interesting. He worked for Citigroup, and he embezzled more than $19 million.
Oh, that's the type of thing I might be able to. If I knew enough about that world, that I could get away with.
Okay. Now he was arrested in 2011. He did 8 years, right? But this was, he was buying condos in Jersey. Now, number 3 is interesting because she was convicted of murder. Now,
okay,
her name is Rosemary Cox, and she was convicted of murdering her boyfriend after finding out about his relationship with another woman. She was sentenced to 20 years in prison, but in 1985 was granted clemency by Illinois Governor James Thompson, who believed she posed no continuing threat to society. In addition to her blindness, Cox had asthma, diabetes, arthritis, and could only walk with the aid of a cane. Now, she was given.
How do you not cheat on this person? Jesus Christ. This guy was a hero, for Christ's sake.
So, and this is a situation where she got clemency. I mean, the governor came in and said, she was sentenced to 20 years. He's like, you know what? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Now, this is in Illinois. If we go a little bit further, we go across the pond to England. This is number 2 on the list. Yvonne Slightholme of Scarborough, England, was convicted of murdering ex-fiance's new wife in 1988, at which time she could see just fine. She claimed to have developed blindness as the case went to trial, conveniently.
The old Cosby defense. I'm pretty sure that's what Cosby tried pulling
right?
out. Yeah.
This sounds a very Weinstein, very Cosby. We can't give us the cane in the walker, right? Slightholme maintained her innocence for years, claiming she was imprisoned at the farm where the crime took place by 3 men who killed the victim and framed her. So she was temporarily released in 2005, had to go back.
Well, how is this number 2? This list is bullshit now. How is this number 2 on the list? The girl who's actually blind should be above that.
Right. And this is what the argument is that I'm trying to figure out. Like, what the fuck is legally blind versus this psychosomatic blindness?
Oh, well, the psychosomatic, I have no idea. But that I can kind of tell you is legally blind. I'm legally blind, which is I can see a little bit. So it's kind of indefinable in a weird way. So I can't define it, actually. But it's basically where you're not totally blind, but can't drive, can't do certain things like that.
So what about Yvonne? She developed it. Now,
yeah, I don't know, but I think it has to be diagnosed. There has to be a clinical some way to measure it, I think.
Well, now, number 1, there is no number 1 on this list, I think, is justifiably at number 1. This is Omar Abdel Rahman. Okay. So he was, remember the blind sheik who was sentenced to the World Trade Center bombing in 1993?
I don't know if I know that story.
Okay, so throughout his life, Abdel Rahman was also involved with terrorist groups in Egypt and Al Qaeda. Wow. Right? And he lost his eyesight as a child after contracting diabetes.
Oh boy!
So he was a guy who, let me see if we can. Yeah, we got okay. Here it is. I found it. I found little screens here because I wanted to give everybody a little background on him. So we got a little video here that's going to explain what exactly the blind sheikh, who he was. So here we go.
Another top story we're following, it's almost 24 years to the day that a truck loaded with explosives tried to bring down the World Trade Center in New York. 6 people died in that blast, and many more were injured. Today, we learned that the Muslim cleric
it's kind of weird to say that after
1993 attack is dead.
Say which?
It just they tried to take down the World Trade Center. It's like, well, they got there eventually.
That is a little bit of bad taste, isn't it? That's a little
Today,
rough.
We learned that the Muslim cleric who helped orchestrate that 1993 attack is dead. Brian Yanis has all the details on the man known as the Blind Sheikh. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Elizabeth. Well, Fox News can confirm Omar Abdel Rahman died today while serving a life sentence at the Butner Federal Prison in North Carolina. Blind, Abdel Rahman became known as the Blind Sheikh.
Now, Corniff, do you remember this guy?
Actually, no. I thought I knew what you're talking about. No, I don't.
So this
guy
guy
call him the way they
like
said that.
Santa.
Do they call him Blind Abdel Rahman the way
they
call
him the
Mike?
Blind Sheik?
Yeah, okay.
That's his nickname.
Before Osama bin Laden, this man was arguably the face of radical Islam,
which in radical Islam means Batman, actually.
Yeah.
In the 80s and in the 90s. He was found guilty in 1995 of conspiring to carry out terrorist attacks in the U.S. He helped to orchestrate the 1993 bombing of the World Trade Center, in which a truck bomb.
My girlfriend was in New York at the time when this happened from L.A. She flew back to New York to do some work or something, and she was in New York when this happened.
Detonated below the North Tower,
it's tough to
killing
be the guy
6
before
and injuring
Osama.
over 1,000 others. 7 other men were convicted for.
Like he was the guy that didn't get it done.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's like before Bin Laden. I mean, the best there ever was. Like that guy, he swung for the fences.
Attack.
Right.
The Blind Sheikh was convicted of
Bin Laden
conspiring to also blow up the United Nations headquarters, a federal building, 2 tunnels, and a bridge in Manhattan. At the time, this was the biggest terrorism trial in our nation's history. He was convicted along with 9 others. He was known for his radical sermons, especially while he lived in New York City and New Jersey in the 1990s, denouncing the United States and Israel, calling for jihad, a holy war against what he called.
He would go up and down the streets and just start screaming.
Yeah.
About
these sermons were never held in a church. He was just whatever room he was in.
He had like this row house, and there was like a mosque, and I think it was like in Queens or something like that.
Infidel. Abdel Rahman was considered the spiritual leader of Al-Gama, also known as the Islamic Group, a militant group in Egypt considered a terrorist organization. To this day, the terrorist organization actively campaigned for his release. In fact, the Blind Sheikh's imprisonment became a rallying cry for radical Islamic jihadists everywhere. He remained a spiritual leader to them while behind bars. In fact, the Islamic group carried out attacks like the Luxor massacre, killing 58 tourists in Egypt, in part demanding the release of Abdel Rahman. Reportedly, one of Abdel Rahman's son says a U.S. representative called him to confirm his father's death today. The AP says he died after a long battle with diabetes and coronary artery disease. He was 78. Liz?
Yeah. Son of a bitch.
78. He had a long one. That is easily number 1. That's a guy I can look up to. He really.
Well, what we've laid out here are just some possible career options, just in case.
Well, thank you. Yes.
You could go into religion.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel, folks. This is where it could go for
That's right. Banking is always a good one. But you know what, man? I gotta say, thank you so much for coming to join us today. I mean, we really had a good time.
Thanks for having me, boys.
Hey, we'd love to have you back on again sometime very soon.
Yeah.
And why don't you give us some of those plugs so people can go and reach out and touch you.
blindmike.net is where everything is. You can get the free links to Blind Mike Project, Why Are You Laughing, Who Are These Socials, which are the 3 separate podcasts that I do. The link to my YouTube page is up there as well. Subscribe, all that. Comment, I guess, whatever helps the algorithm. And then if you like what you see there, go to the Patreon. We do bonus episodes of Why Are You Laughing, as well as some other nonsense on there. So check out the Patreon if you'd like. blindmike.net.
Awesome. So everybody go and check out Blind Mike. Thank you so much again and again for joining us, and come back on soon, and we will see you on the next one, brother. All right.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
All right, man. See you soon. Oh, that was awesome.
That was great.
He's so great, right? Yeah. I really enjoy watching him, and I would encourage everybody who's going to be seeing this on the replay, because we're doing this live on Twitter right now. We're going to upload it onto Rumble, Rockfin, Odyssey, all the goodies, because we are right now suspended on the YouTube because of this. Wait, no, these things work weird. There, that way. That guy. This guy right here.
Too hot for YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, people just aren't ready for it, man. No. You're too sweet for your own good.
Well, they better get ready.
And what a great corner. What a great corner we had today. I mean,
that went well. Yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect, but yeah, I think I did okay. And he did great.
He's such a well-spoken young man for a Massachusetts ruffian, for a Boston, for a townie.
Yes. Yes, he is.
Well, we got another one in the bag, bro.
We did it.
So, we have another show. The next show that we have coming up, we got somebody special coming on.
Do we?
Would you like to know?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So. We are going to bring on former NYPD detective Mike Codella. Okay, so Mike Codella, not only was he part of the Son of Sam case, and he exposed a lot of basically a satanic cult, a satanic murder cult, and he has a lot of information because of the time he spent interviewing Son of Sam and working on that case. Not only that, bro, speaking of 9/11, and we're keeping like a through line here because I'm talking about the shake and then it went into some 9/11 that we talked about here.
Yeah.
Mike Codella, one of the fucking towers fell on him, and he's going to tell the story. He was in the collapse of Tower 2. No shit. And he survived. He was one of the guys that came out of there. And he has a jiu-jitsu school in Staten Island now, and he's just a really great guy. So we're going to have him on next time.
That's all. That's going to be great.
And yeah, so all right, man. Well, let's just sign it off. And why don't you sign us off? Sign us off for RipCast. Sign us off here, brother. It's all you.
Well, everyone, this is where the awkward part of Corn Diff kicks in. So everyone, thanks for stopping by. Check us out next time. When will next time be?
Next time is going to be announced very soon. We're going to schedule it with Mike. I think we're going to try and stay on the weekends, but I'm really enjoying this RipCast thing.
Yeah, me too.
It's like you just take, like I said earlier, you take a cool word, you put cast on the end of it, and it's a whole new fucking ball game. Yeah, so I think this is going to really, really hit hard. It's already getting more plays than any of my other stuff on Rumble or Twitter. And obviously, Corn Diff here and having really great talent on as well. We're just going to keep that vibe going, and that's just what we're going to keep trying to do. So if anybody is out there that wants to come on the show, if you're interesting, we'll have you on here, especially if you're connected to something that we could sort of make a theme about. We like to keep that. So next time we come back, it's going to be Mike Codella. And like I said, it could be tomorrow night. It could be early next week. But I think you might see me in Corn Diff pretty regularly from now on. So
if you're good.
That's right. Yes. All right, man. All right. So I think okay, so here, say this. This is going to be our tagline. You ain't even ready.
Oh, guys, everyone, we'll see you next time. You ain't even ready.